If speedrunning has taught me anything about Wind Waker, it's that the game is very broken. Despite being over 2 decades old now, runners still manage to find new skips to beat the game as quickly as possible. I, however, had a different goal in mind. I began to experiment with these skips, not to break records, but to break the game as much as possible. While messing around, a very special version of the game caught my eye. I'm sure you've all read the title, so yes, I'm talking about the Zelda Collector's Edition on the Nintendo GameCube. Featuring a compilation of notable classic Zelda titles, this collection also includes a bonus, a 20-minute demo of Wind Waker that includes 3 preset files, each introducing you to different game mechanics. You're free to play the demo within the allotted time, but after those 20 minutes have passed, you'll be booted out of the game and sent back to the collection's main menu. However, this made me wonder, how far could you possibly get in the demo before time is up? There's basically no way to beat the entire game within the time limit, so I set a goal to reach Hyrule before the demo ends by using all of the glitches and exploits at my disposal. Before getting started, there's one very important decision that we need to make. As mentioned before, the demo has 3 preset files to choose from: Dungeon, Stealth, and Island, which spawns us in Dragon Roost Cavern, the Forsaken Fortress, and Windfall Island respectively. Considering Dragon Roost Cavern has the furthest story progression among the 3 files, we're going to be using Dungeon as a starting point. This file also has access to the Wind Waker right from the start, and this will be very important soon. With our file selected, the next step is to secure our route to Hyrule. To do this, we're going to travel from Dragon Roost Island straight to the top of the Forsaken Fortress. You see, when viewing the cutscene with Ganondorf after defeating the Helmrock King, the game thinks that you've already completed the Tower of the Gods and have been to Hyrule at least once. With that in mind, the cutscene automatically sends you back down to Hyrule regardless of whether or not you've actually been there before. Knowing this, we're going to exploit this cutscene warp to gain early entry to Hyrule, but there are 2 major problems. The most obvious issue is that the fortress is located on the opposite side of the map, and the King of Red Lions won't leave Dragon Roost until the dungeon is completed, effectively blocking our access to the Great Sea. The other problem is infiltrating the fortress. You see, the Helmrock King boss fight is barred by a giant door that can only be opened by using the Skull Hammer obtained by defeating Phantom Ganon. Despite it being impossible to fight Phantom Ganon with the Hero Sword without the use of glitches, the developer specifically programmed him so that he only takes damage from the Master Sword. This means that the Hero Sword is basically useless against him. It can't deal any damage to him, nor can it reflect his projectiles. Sure, the bottle can at least be used to stun him, but without the Master Sword, he's basically invincible. Problem is, the Master Sword is in Hyrule, and since we don't have it yet, this means that acquiring the Skull Hammer and subsequently opening Helmrock's door is impossible. With that, we've got an uncrossable ocean and an impenetrable fortress on our hands, so how do we get around this? Before moving any further, it's worth mentioning that I'll be using all of the tricks on screen in the upcoming sequence of glitches. If any of these terms sound unfamiliar, feel free to pause the video and check the description for a general overview of what all these glitches mean. That said, when we begin the file, we immediately exit Dragon Roost Cavern and head straight for the shore of the island. Recall how I mentioned that the Wind Waker would be very important for our plan to work. That's because even though the King of Red Lions refuses to leave the island until the dungeon is completed, we're able to bypass this restriction entirely by superswimming. Luckily, we can easily obtain storage by performing a Wind Waker dive on this ledge. While you might think we'd now want to superswim straight to the fortress, we're actually going to make 2 quick stops on our way there. We do this because even though superswimming lets us reach the fortress with ease, Helmrock's door would still block our path. Since we don't have the means to open it, we'll need to find a workaround. Theoretically, we could obtain chest storage and exploit the shrunken collision it provides to clip through the door, but there's one major flaw in this solution. There aren't any chests at the fortress that we can use for this trick. Most of the chests are located indoors, meaning we won't be able to use any of them to obtain chest storage. While there is one chest that appears outside in the fortress courtyard, it's the chest containing the aforementioned Skull Hammer, and since we can't defeat Phantom Ganon to access it, we can't use that one either. Since obtaining chest storage at the fortress won't work, we're instead going to obtain it elsewhere in the Great Sea. For this, we're going to use the treasure chest on Crescent Moon Island, conveniently located right between Dragon Roost and our destination. Before doing this though, we'll first need to double our storage by storing the King of Red Lions dialogue and then obtaining storage a second time. This is essential for our plan to work, as we need to use storage for two separate glitches, superswimming and obtaining chest storage. Because storage is only good for one of these glitches at a time, doubling our storage ensures that we have enough storage for both. Once we've gotten double storage, we then superswim to Crescent Moon Island to make our way over to the chest. Unfortunately, this is much easier said than done. We can't exit camera lock, as doing so would remove our ability to superswim, meaning that we'll need to open the chest while facing the wrong direction. Not only that, but directional inputs are also fixed in a specific direction while camera lock is active, which essentially scrambles our controls once we reach the island. To make matters worse, there are two blue choo-choos guarding the chest that are especially tricky to deal with due to their electric attributes. Since the shocking animation that plays when taking electric damage is a storable event, accidentally touching either of these choo-choos will store the shocking animation instead of the chest, meaning we'll have to be extra careful to avoid them. So, with the camera facing the wrong way and our directional inputs disoriented, we carefully navigate around the choo-choos and open the chest to activate chest storage. Doing so also causes the world to temporarily go dark as a side effect of the glitch. Now that we have chest storage, we run back into the water with camera lock still active to initiate another superswim, this time in pitch black darkness. I'd suggest skipping ahead to the timestamp on screen if you're sensitive to flashing visuals, as the darkness on screen won't last for long. Because superswimming straight from Crescent Moon Island to the fortress will be difficult with what little air we have, it's best to first superswim to Windfall Island. Fortunately, exiting the previous quadrant causes the darkness to dissipate, so this makes locating the island a little easier. We then deliberately run into this specific side of the island to get an air refill. By doing this, we're able to preserve the speed from our previous superswim and continue to build more speed without concern for limited air. Once we have enough speed, we are finally able to swim straight to the fortress, officially crossing off one of the major obstacles on our list. To avoid drowning, we locate a very specific part of the fortress outskirts that allows us to stand in the water. From there, we are finally able to exit camera lock, as superswimming is no longer required from this point on. Now that we're here, our shrunken collision allows us to easily slip through the rocks and swim under the fortress walls. We then clip through the second set of rocks and swim under the floor to the Phantom Ganon fight trigger, which conveniently teleports us straight up to the courtyard. Ignoring Phantom Ganon, we're able to climb straight up the walls all the way to the top of the fortress. Once we reach the door, we can simply clip through the wall and enter the tower. However, there's still one glaring obstacle left in our path, Helmrock himself. The fight begins as you'd expect. We immediately spiral up the tower as quickly as possible until we reach the peak. Normally, at this point, we'd use the Skull Hammer to smash Helmrock's mask and begin the fight, but as you all know by now, we don't have the Skull Hammer, so if we can't defeat him, we're going to have to skip him instead. We'll do this by first running in circles at this specific spot. Normally, when you cross this particular section of the tower, Helmrock swoops down to block our path. But by repeatedly circling this particular spot, the animation of Helmrock swooping down plays over and over, causing him to continuously gain height. After doing this several times, we're able to rush to the ledge and climb up before he can stop us. Now all that's left is to escape the arena. By performing a very specific set of inputs, we position Link at a precise enough angle that allows us to climb into the floor. Once we're inside, we jump right under the spikes blocking the arena's exit, and we've successfully skipped Helmrock. Now all that's left is to view the cutscene and arrive in Hyrule, or so I thought. Initially, the cutscene seemed to play perfectly fine aside from the Tower of the Gods being invisible, but instead of taking me to Hyrule, the game crashed. I was a little disappointed, but I decided to wait around to see if anything might happen, and I was far from disappointed with the results. Instead of blasting my ears with the usual crashing noise, my Wii just automatically restarted without any input on my part. I didn't press the reset button or even touch the console itself, it just rebooted all on its own. Confused, I tested the exact same process on a regular, non-demo copy of Wind Waker to see if I'd get the same result. This time though, the cutscene finished just fine and sent me to Hyrule as intended. Just to be sure this wasn't a fluke, I tested the demo a second time, but sure enough, the cutscene crashed and proceeded to force restart my console yet again. So, that begs the question, why does the demo crash but the original Wind Waker doesn't? Well, honestly, I have no idea. I wasn't expecting a crash when going into this project, let alone a full console reboot, so I'm not really sure. Hey, so I'm recording this segment right as I was getting ready to post this to YouTube. I was originally going to end the video right here, but as I was finishing up recording and editing everything, I discovered two things. One is the reason for the game crash. Apparently, the data for Hyrule isn't even in the demo, presumably to save space on the disk, so whenever the game attempts to send us there, it doesn't know what to do and just crashes. Now, the way I figured this out is because of the second thing that I learned. Apparently, this entire process has already been discovered and showcased by the Wind Waker speedrunning community. Every trick you just saw in this video has apparently already been performed, and it even has its own niche category on speedrun.com called Early Master Sword. So, yeah, I kinda wish I knew that before making this video, but oh well. I pondered whether or not I should even post this video after hearing about this, but I figured I'd put way too much time and effort into making this, so hopefully it was worth it for all of you watching. While hearing about this made my accomplishment feel a bit less exciting, I wasn't about to walk away empty-handed. So, I figured that if I couldn't make a new discovery by doing this, I might as well take the world record instead. The top time as of recording this was 9 minutes and 10 seconds, so I had a clear goal to work towards. It's worth noting, however, that the record was run on a Japanese copy of the game, meaning I'd be at an inherent disadvantage. For those unaware, the text in the Japanese version is significantly faster than in the North American release. This posed a problem, as we have to watch a very lengthy cutscene before skipping Helmarock. According to ZeldaSpeedruns.com, the Japanese version of this cutscene only takes 2 minutes and 52 seconds, whereas the North American release takes 3 minutes and 12 seconds. This makes for a difference of 20 whole seconds, which may not sound like a lot, but in a speedrun that takes roughly 9 minutes, that's quite a significant gap considering that about a third of the entire run is spent in this cutscene alone. I wasn't willing to purchase another copy of the game just to make this video though, so I settled for the disadvantage and began streaming my world record attempts on Twitch. To make up for the time loss, I managed to make small optimizations in my route, such as superswimming to Mother and Child Isle instead of Windfall and just making sure that I make as few mistakes as possible. Then, after a couple attempts, I'd done it. And... time. Not bad. Not bad at all. With a world record run of 8 minutes and 35 seconds, my record now stands proudly on speedrun.com with the 2 other runners that even bothered to give this category a try. This run wasn't perfect by any means, but hey, I finally have something to show for my effort, so I'll consider it a win. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this kind of content, be sure to like and subscribe, as I'll be sure to make more like it in the future. Also, if you want to help support the channel, feel free to follow me on Twitch to catch more streams like this one in the future. Every little bit helps, especially as a small channel starting out, so I'd be very grateful for the support. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you all in the next one.